Let's dive into one of the most iconic poems of the modern age, the love song of Alfred Prufrock. This was Eliot's very first published poem, and that fact has been asked in exam. Eliot actually wrote it much earlier, in February 1910, but it wasn't published until 1915, thanks to Ezra Pound, who recognized its genius and encouraged its appearance in Poetry magazine. This role of Ezra Pound has been asked in exam too, so don't miss that connection. Later, the poem was included in Eliot's very first collection, Prufrock and Other Observations, which came out in 1917, and yes, that inclusion has also appeared in exam. Eliot's Prufrock draws its strength from a blend of literary and cultural references. It is deeply influenced by Dante Alighieri, the Bible, and William Shakespeare, and this mix of influences has been asked in exam. The poem directly echoes Shakespeare's plays Henry IV Part 2, Twelfth Night, and Hamlet, while also referencing the 17th century metaphysical poet Andrew Marvell and the 19th century French symbolists, both of which have also been tested in exam. There's even a repeated mention of Michelangelo in the poem, The Women at the Tea Party Keep Talking of Him, and this very detail too has been asked in exam. Interestingly, Eliot uses that repetition not just to mimic idle chatter, but to expose the shallow, self-conscious world of Prufrock society. So what kind of poem is this? Well, it's often described as a dramatic interior monologue, meaning that the entire poem unfolds inside the speaker's mind. Prufrock's thoughts flow in a stream of consciousness, one of the hallmarks of modernist writing. It's sometimes called a drama of literary anguish, showing the modern man's inner paralysis. Prufrock is a man haunted by his lost youth, by missed chances, and by his deep sense of spiritual emptiness. You'll remember his famous line, "I have measured out my life with coffee spoons." That line has been asked in exam, and it captures the monotony and triviality of modern existence perfectly. Throughout the poem, he struggles with isolation, indecision, and the fear of rejection. He longs for connection but can't overcome his self-consciousness. Beneath that surface, Eliot explores regret, decay, and mortality, all wrapped in the imagery of an urban world where even love feels mechanical and distant. Ultimately, Prufrock becomes a symbol of the modern individual's frustration and despair, and that symbolic significance has been asked in exam. Eliot's nervous, fragmented voice here gave modern poetry a new tone, one that reflected the anxieties of an entire generation. Now let's look at another of Eliot's crucial early poems, Gerontion, published in 1920, and that publication year has been asked in exam. The title Gerontion means little old man in Greek, and yes, that translation has also appeared in exam. Eliot presents this poem as a dramatic monologue spoken by an elderly narrator, a man reflecting on his life and the state of the world after the devastations of the First World War. In many ways, Gerontion feels like an old man's version of Prufrock, full of memory, disillusionment, and spiritual dryness. Interestingly, Gerontion was originally planned as the preface to The Waste Land, but Ezra Pound convinced Eliot to leave it out, and that editorial decision has been asked in exam too. You can already sense here the same fragmented tone and spiritual themes that would later dominate The Waste Land. The poem opens with an epigraph from Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, "Thou hast nor youth nor age." That quotation has been asked in exam, so be sure to note it. The speaker's shifting voice alternating between I and us suggests an old man who feels both personal and collective decay. Like Prufrock, Gerontion lacks a formal plot but offers vivid, fragmentary images. The old man seems to live in a decaying house with a boy and a woman, surrounded by European residents and even a Jewish landlord, small snapshots of a civilization in decline. Gradually, the poem drifts from these physical surroundings into abstract reflections on religion, guilt, and desire. It ends hauntingly with the line, "Thoughts of a dry brain in a dry season." That line has been asked in exam and perfectly sums up Eliot's image of spiritual sterility. The phrase dry brain symbolizes not only the aging mind of the speaker but also the intellectual exhaustion of post-war Europe. Critics like Hugh Kenner later compared its multiple shifting voices to the wasteland, suggesting that even in Gerontion, Eliot was experimenting with a chorus of fragmented consciousness. The structure itself resembles a Jacobean play, with its dark tone, broken imagery, and absence of a coherent plot. It feels less like a story and more like a voice murmuring through fragments of civilization, poetic ruins of faith and meaning.